Welcome to the Experience Economy. In your module for this week, you have the original Harvard Business Review article about this term, the experience economy, which was coined in the late 1990s. And it's really interesting because while the experience economy has very much dominated the last 2 decades of marketing and spending and the consumer culture, it's going to be very interesting to see whether we are evolving out of the experience economy, and if so, what we are evolving into. To understand all of this, we first need to understand the experience economy itself. So the best example that I always use for the experience economy is the example of coffee. Can you tell that I have like a minor obsession with coffee? Yeah. Okay. But anyway, I, and like everybody else, uses the coffee analogy in this one. So here's the way it works. There was the commodities economy. And in the commodities economy, you would buy the commodity of coffee, which is the coffee bean. So you would buy your own coffee beans and then you would grind them. And then you would put them through a filter and make your cup of coffee. Okay, so that's buying the commodity is the coffee beans. Then people created instant coffee, like this Maxwell House thing that comes in that metal tin. My father still drinks Maxwell House coffee, and he really likes the instant coffee, and I can't get over it. But anyway, he loves his Maxwell House coffee, and that is a good. So what they have done is they have ground up the coffee beans for you, and then you put it in a filter. So it takes the step out of grinding, right? So it's not the commodity. The good is that you pay a little bit extra for the coffee in a can, and it takes away some of the time in terms of making coffee. Now then, there's also the service, where you could go to a diner, where you could go to a restaurant, and you could be served a cup of coffee, right? And that is the service of being served coffee. But then there's the experience of going to Starbucks, where the folks at Starbucks know my name, they know my car. I pull into the drive-thru and they say, "Hey, good morning, you want the usual?" And I have an experience of getting coffee just the way I like it, customized to me. And you have the experience of ordering, where you need to know the order in which you go, right? So you have to order, a venti cup, and also there's the language associated with it. It's not an extra large, it's a venti. And then you have to know the order in which to go, right? So let's see, I want a venti blonde, that's the espresso type, latte with 3 Splenda. Right? So you add all of the things in, you know the order. All of a sudden, there's the experience of going to Starbucks. So here's the experience economy. The experience economy is the idea that we are now paying more for the experience rather than for the thing itself. That what is being sold is not just the cup of coffee, but the experience of going to the Starbucks to get that cup of coffee. As you'll notice, experiences are more expensive than services, much more expensive than goods, and way more expensive than buying the raw commodity itself. Now, why experiences? Why would you do this? Well, as we have evolved into a sort of, as our economy has evolved, we have decided that we want different things. Our experience economy is one that's much more social. It is one that's much more sort of out in the world, and it involves lots of sort of psychology and creativity in terms of selling. Another example, just to show you I'm not totally coffee obsessed. Oh, right, I'm also obsessed with my kids and birthday parties. Right, so is the birthday party example. So if one of my children is having a birthday, I could get flour and sugar and milk and oil, and I could make them a birthday cake. I would buy all the essential ingredients for a birthday cake, and I would make them a birthday cake from scratch. Or I could buy the Duncan Hines. I actually prefer Betty Crocker, but whatever. The cake mix, and then that saves time. It's a little more expensive, but it saves some time. I could go to the bakery and have a cake made. Also more expensive, but their decorations are better than mine. So sometimes I do that. But oftentimes it's not as good. It's not as moist. So you have to find the right bakery. Or we could have the experience of going to Chuck E. Cheese, heaven help me, where everything is done for me. It's a lot more expensive, but I can invite my kids' friends. They can play at the arcade. They have really terrible pizza, and the whole thing comes together, and it's a big old birthday party that I don't have to clean up from and that my kids will really love because it's the experience of the party. Or if you want to take it to the next level, there's the transformational experience of taking my kids to Disney for their birthday, where you can have this over-the-top experience that would be so memorable that the idea is that you are spending money on an experience that will transform you as a person, so you will not be the same person leaving as you were coming. Who knows? So, with all of this, the economic value increases. It is much less expensive to buy the ingredients to make your own birthday cake from scratch than it is to take your children to Disney. Trust me, I know this. However, we have seen a very interesting thing recently with the experience economy and kind of a throwback to creating an experience around using the commodities yourself. So it's a retro idea, right? So now we're seeing, especially in the pandemic, everybody trying to get yeast to do their own baking, to bake their own breads, as opposed to buying it. So the idea of making a birthday cake with my kids from scratch, that actually has turned into quite an experience on its own. Cleaning up the kitchen is also an experience, but you know. Now, when we think about the experience economy, I love this quote. Customers of the future are not only asking for efficiency, they want experiences, happiness, and relationships when they spend their money. So that's a lot to ask out of a product. You want it not only to be efficient, so you want it to work and to be fast, but you want a great experience. You want to have it make you happy. You want to have it help you form social relationships. And you want to have a relationship with the product itself. All of this is part of the experience economy. And so I want to define the experience economy for you. The experience economy is a new economic era in which all businesses must orchestrate memorable, okay, so this is a really key point, the memorable experiences for the customer. And that memory itself becomes the product, the experience. So in the experience economy, we are looking at the product as not just the product itself, but the experience around experiencing the product, having the product. So it's like the service economy and the goods economy clumped together into this idea of an experience economy that is going to create a memory for you. So what does this mean for the customer? Well, it means much more of a kind of consumer psychology focus on what the customer wants, what the customer needs, or what you can convince the customer that the customer needs so that then they want it. The idea is to sort of get into the heads of the customers and figure out who they are and how they want to be better, how they want to be happier, how they want to have a better relationship or be stronger or have more fun, what it is that they want to tell the world about themselves, how they want to define themselves, and what kinds of experiences they want to have. This is a great example of experiential marketing. I'm going to play you a video now of an Orangina. You know Orangina? It's like the orange juice drink thing that you have to shake, and to experiential marketing in action. Think about all of the various things that come into play here. How you have the customer expending effort for the experience, how it's a story at the end of it, it's memorable, and how this is marketing. And the video itself is marketing for the company in a way that people talk about. some examples of experiential marketing, of the experience economy in your own life? Well, experience economy elements have to engage the five senses. It's not just about things you see, but the experience economy is about touch and feel and smell and taste. When have you engaged in a fully sensory experience? Experiences exist in the mind, right? So it's all about what you're thinking about and how you feel when you are having this experience. Have you ever gone to a really nice restaurant but hated it because you were having a fight with the person you're with? Or maybe had a terrible time at a party even though it was in a beautiful venue and the party had all the awesome things associated with it? So really, it's about mindset, and it is about being open to the experience, but it's also about how you feel and whether you are happy in the experience. So part of the experience economy is about creating a positive, memorable experience. Now, there are some elements to this where it doesn't have to be all positive. So the Las Vegas blackout dining, you may eat something that's disgusting that you don't like, and that might not be a positive experience to be in the dark eating something gross, right? But it's certainly memorable, and you're having an experience. The other one are these panic rooms and escape rooms that people go into now, and then they're with a group and you have to get out of the escape room, right? That may not be a particularly fun experience in the moment, especially if people panic and are freaked out, but you have an experience nonetheless, and you're paying for that experience. So other examples of the experience economy, think about them in your own life. Have you engaged in the experience economy? What do you think about it? What works and what doesn't? And how are you engaging in the experience economy if you can't go out as much? How are you engaging in the experience economy in a pandemic? The key features of any of these experience economy things are to make it personal, memorable, and to make the person spending the money feel like a guest, not a customer. Language really matters here. So instead of talking about the buyer, you talk about the guest. You talk about the colleague, the client. So speaking in language that puts people more into the experience rather than having the experience be pushed out to them. So you again want to make it personal, memorable, and make the person feel like they are part of the experience, not just a customer, but a guest in a whole new way of looking at things. Now, I think it is important to ask yourself, is the experience economy just another form of materialism? And the thing is, it certainly could be, because to have experiences, you often have to buy things, right? So to go on a Grand Canyon rafting trip, you've got to buy a bunch of stuff associated with it. Maybe you need to buy a new mountain bike. Maybe you need to buy a new smartphone. All of these things are things that you can use to have experiences, but they're still buying things. So while there is an overlap between buying things and buying experiences, there are also plenty of times where you would buy things that don't actually lead to experiences. So a diamond necklace or a Rolex watch, a filing cabinet. These are all things themselves. Although, frankly, I wouldn't really think about a filing cabinet as a materialistic purchase. But sometimes you just need a file cabinet. The idea is that anytime you are buying things to use in an experience, you have to sort of look at it and say, am I engaging in this experience because of all the toys associated with it? Or am I engaging in this experience because it really matters to me? Now, there are plenty of companies, though, that are selling both the experience and the thing. So if you think about Athleta and Lululemon, they are having free yoga classes in their stores. What they want you to do is buy their yoga pants so that you wear their yoga pants at their store and you do yoga. So they're giving you a class as a way to entice you to come buy their product. That's a way of using experiential marketing, right? They're bringing you into the store to have an experience, and then you're much more likely to buy. So experience and materialism can very much overlap. You can also, again, be spending on experiences to impress others, in which case you are engaging in a materialistic reason for buying those experiences. But in the end, the experience economy is here. It is now. And there is some interesting debate about whether we are moving on to a well-being economy, whether we're moving on to a more digital experience economy, what the next economy is going to be. So it's important to learn about the commodities, the goods, the services, the experience economy, and then also to use that knowledge to ask, what's next?